All right, Tommy, we are recording finally,
Ah,
so we can get to this show.
but I'm scared.
I know you are, but you haven't said fuck yet.
Fuck!
There we go. That is right, we are back. This is the CFOD show. My name is Danny. Over here I've got my buddy Tommy. Tommy, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great, Danny, because for the first time this season, I have a full roster on my team.
Good job. In fact, yeah.
I think we all do, actually.
Yeah, well,
and that's far different from our last episode.
Very much so. We've drafted since then.
I've even traded since then, so my team's even different. We can talk about that this episode.
We could, but we're not going to.
Why not?
We've got a really long show, buddy, and we need to get through all of it as quickly as we can.
But I made a trade, and it's like...
Nobody cares. Trust me. The emails are pouring in saying nobody cares. We've got draft analysis. We've got draft grade analysis. We've got week one previews. We've got it all in this episode of the CFOD show. Cheer the fuck up!
I'm so excited to talk about my
Cheer. We've also got some of our other great segments for you that I know our two new folks don't know anything about, but we'll get into them. We have great segments on the show. We've had
the best segments, tremendous segments.
Tremendous segments, yes. We've had the CFOD MVP. We've had Did Tommy Get It Right? We've had the Fuck Up of the Week, and we've had CFOD MVP. Did I say that already? I might have. Oh well. But either way, we've got lots of segments to get to today.
Not to mention the Serious Minute.
The Serious Minute, we don't have a Serious Minute for this.
I didn't bring the glasses, so we can't do that. But I'm just for the new people who haven't seen the show.
That's right.
That's
right. Another one of our incredible segments. We should probably just hop right into it. You think?
All right, let's hop into it.
All right. Over. No, I won't let you press
Damn
the button.
it.
I have the button set up for set number 2 yet. Two now. So that was set number 1. There you go. I think. Did it go?
That's what your mama said.
It's going now.
Sorry, I feel better now.
All right. Well, anyways, now that Tommy's pressed the button 17 times, can't press it again. Let's get into what happened. Okay, so we had a draft a couple weekends ago. Well, two weekends ago?
Something like that.
Yeah. Anyways, this is what happened.
A weekend ago.
Yeah, a weekend ago. It's basically a week ago.
Yeah, Danny, you drafted a lot of Ralph's players, I see.
Yeah, and then I didn't draft a kicker at all.
No, that's against the rules. So your record will not count this year.
That's fine. But yeah, so I hope you think you did well in the draft this year.
Yeah,
those
that was probably a little tough to look at, but I imagine everybody's had a pretty good look at the draft so far.
But if you're curious how you did, Yahoo will go ahead and tell you exactly how you did.
Super accurate grades.
These are the draft grades brought to you by Toyota. For some reason, they decided to sponsor a segment on our show. Good for Toyota. It's my 17th favorite car company.
Thanks, Toyota.
Yeah. Thanks, Lexus.
And right up there at the top, you can see I got the best draft grade in a 7-team tie.
That's because you used facts and reasoning.
I did. Mm-hmm. I facts and reasoned the shit out of that.
But yeah, so it says I did fairly well. I did second. Then the guy I traded with also did fairly well at third. Mm-hmm. And then we don't need to talk about anyone else up until 10th place when we can talk about Jeff and how awesome he is.
Yeah, our defending champion sure did shit the bed in this one, but in my opinion, that's what he's done the last 2 drafts. And we'll see what happens if he can scoop up a of the sorry. Well, I'm sure that'll be censored out.
Probably.
But
more post-production work for me.
You know, all that. Picking up the receiver, he who shall not be named. What? I can't say that either?
No.
Shit!
You can say that.
Fuck!
And that.
Okay, cool. Just making sure I still got my favorite words. And then down there with the D's, we got 2 D's down there.
That's what your mama said.
All right. Bony-eared ass fishes and blunts and fortes, but we'll get into their teams a little bit more here in a second. The thing about Yahoo draft grades is you kind of have to take them with a grain of salt. The keepers thrown into there kind of messes things up a little bit. Those grades also don't account for PPR, I've noticed. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of discrepancies in there. For the most part, I expected everybody to be around the same area. So really, everybody except for Jeff, Allen, and Randall should feel good about what they did.
Yeah. I mean, even our new guy, Barron, he got a C+ at least.
He did. At least he got that C+.
Yeah.
So good for you, Barron.
Way better than the clusterfucker.
Indeed.
And
but that was
everyone
before her blockbuster trade.
We're not talking about
Son
that,
of a
Tommy.
bitch.
We need to get into this week's version of
Fine.
games. Here is week's 1 version of games, and one thing that I noticed, and I don't think Tommy noticed because he didn't bring it up in pre-show, is we've actually got a preview of a Rivalry Week game already here.
Rivalry Week?
Rivalry Week.
That's fun to say.
It is fun to say, and hard to say.
Rivalry Week is not until like week 12, though.
Correct.
Just so everyone knows.
Which, I love that it's there because that's, 2 weeks before playoffs start? So that really can determine, your rival could kick you out of the playoffs or help you get into it.
And all that does is enhance the rivalry for next year. We did change up the divisions a little bit, but we'll get into Rivalry Week later. We don't need to touch on that right now. But the matchup you were mentioning there, Cody and Ralph. With a pretty even projection there. 142 is very close to 142.
I completely agree. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, anyways, actually, this is going along pretty quickly.
That's what your mama said.
Did it go the whole way?
Yes, it will play the whole thing.
I didn't know if I cut it off or
No,
not.
you just played it twice.
Okay, I'll stop.
You didn't press it again. All right. Anyways, so we can either go into the weekly breakdowns, which is usually where we go to when we run out of other segments, or we could go to one of our many other segments. We haven't done a CFOD MVP. That's kind of hard to do.
We can't do that because we haven't played any games yet.
We could do our playoffs bet, but I don't know if we're really doing that anymore.
Yeah, it's a little tough to project right from the beginning of the season. Maybe in a few weeks we'll start talking about playoffs. I didn't bring the glasses for the serious minute.
So I guess the only one we can do is the fuck up of the week.
But how are we going to do that? Because, again, no games have been played yet, so no one's really had an opportunity to fuck up yet.
Oh, somebody did. Let me hit the bumper.
Baby, you fucked up, you fucked up, you fucked up. This time I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Baby, you fucked up, you fucked up, you fucked up.
Oh, I stand corrected. We did have a fuck up.
That's right. As you could see by that video there, that was Cameron Meredith just after breaking his ACL. And just a couple hours later, Josh Gillespie drafting said Cameron Meredith.
Got to keep up to date on your news. That's where the facts and reasoning comes in, my friend.
Mm-hmm. So. But, I mean, it wasn't detrimental to your lineup. We took a look at your lineup later. You still have a very solid team. In fact, it's almost impressive that you took off a 9th round and still have that good of a team.
Was the 9th round?
It was the 9th round.
Okay.
Yep.
For some reason, I thought it was a little bit earlier, but that's
no,
right.
It was. He can keep him in the 7th, the same shape.
I see. The same shape of his leg now.
Yeah,
I getcha.
But anyways, just I feel kind of bad just making fun of Josh about a draft pick not being in the know.
That's true. I mean, Josh is not the only person who fucked up that day.
Correct.
In the same day.
Are we allowed to talk about
Let's
this?
make fun of Jeff, too. I'll take any opportunity to do that.
All right.
So, yeah, I don't know if we talked about this during the draft, but Jeff actually made the same mistake in the draft before the CFOD draft.
But at least that was only like 30, 45 minutes after it had happened.
Yeah, but also, I mean, the conversation was had in the draft room two separate times.
I think, when did Jeff draft? Draft was like 10th? 10th overall? I think we got to Jeff's first round pick, and I said, all right, Jeff, it's your turn, and Cameron Meredith is still on the board. And Jeff responded by saying, I thought we weren't going to talk about that.
Yep, so we did. That did come up.
And then I think I felt bad because I'm like, well, dang it. You're right. I probably shouldn't have said anything.
Oh, so that's where my confusion came, because Jeff actually took Cameron Meredith in the 7th round of his draft. So I think that's where that came in.
Okay.
So, technically only one of you fucked up in the CFOD, but I'm okay with letting them share it.
Yeah, you don't like Jeff, so you can make fun of him. Whereas I can just point out that he's won two belts in a row. And all you've got is that lousy shirt with Drew Brees' hand holding up a thing from 2013.
Where's your shirt, Jeff? That's what I thought.
I didn't want to make one. I can answer for him there.
All right, that's fair. But Josh and Jeff, you fucked up.
Yep. All right. Well, should I play the bumper for the breakdowns, or do we want to just go into it?
Let's just go into it.
Just go into it. All right. Not gonna play any music. We're not gonna play the bumper.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it. We'll do it live. All right. Game number 1 between me and Josh, Mr. Cameron Meredith himself. This projection says 145 to 133. However, he's slotting in Ezekiel Elliott, hoping that he's going to play Sunday night.
Yeah, we're still waiting to see what happens with that. It's a risky move there. But however, even if Zeke doesn't play, Josh still has Melvin Gordon, another consensus first-round running back, to slot into that spot. So I think Josh is going to be fine as far as that goes.
Not only will he know way before Sunday, but if somehow it doesn't come out until Sunday at 4 o'clock our time, he'll still have time to change him because Melvin Gordon plays Monday night.
I see.
And Elliott plays Sunday night.
Indeed. Either way, I think that gives Josh a running back advantage over Duke Johnson. Duke should catch some passes. There were rumors about him playing in the slot this year, so we'll see how that goes. But I think you have a clear advantage at the wide receiver position,
maybe,
which is probably going to be the case most of the year, thanks to that trade that you made, getting 2 of the top 3 receivers in the league, if not the top 2 receivers in the league.
Especially not knowing how Odell Beckham's going to handle the first few weeks.
Right. So I'll give you the advantage there. Tight end and flex. It's a pretty even matchup in my opinion. I do give you the leg up with Eifert over Julius Thomas. Julius Thomas is fine, but I do like Tyler Eifert a lot when he's on the field. And then Danny Amendola is a big question mark because we don't really know how he's going to be used in the Patriots offense.
They keep talking about how they're going to limit his play just because Danny Amendola has never been a guy to stay healthy.
Right, and I mean you still have Chris Hogan there. There's a lot of questions on how they're going to fill that hole that Julian Edelman left. Thank you.
That's what your mama said.
Anyway, Chris Hogan can play the slot. They also have Danny Amendola who can do that. But yeah, there's questions on who's going to play the slot, who's going to play more outside. They went and picked up Philip Dorsett from the Colts too, who's another guy who basically does nothing but run down the field. I don't think he's caught a pass in his career. So
he's got like 4.
Does he?
Yeah,
good for him. Good former first round pick. So there's a lot of questions on how that Danny Amendola pick is going to go. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable having him in my lineup week 1.
Yeah,
but worth a shot. He could have a huge game or he could do nothing. As far as the quarterbacks
insert
go,
New England Patriot name here, and that's true, other than Tom Brady.
Exactly. So I think the quarterbacks basically even out. I think that's going to be a push. So this is going to be a good matchup.
Depends on which quarterback you're talking about. He's also got Marcus Mariota down there.
Oh, I see.
I think he wins
with that second flex spot. That's a good point. So if we, I don't know if we want to look at the tight ends and both flexes together, like in the same bunch, or because you have Chris Hogan too, and that's an interesting wrinkle. It really depends on how those positions play out in that Thursday night game. It's going to have a lot to do with it.
So I'm actually quite curious about something now that I'm thinking about it. That super flex spot we put in was supposed to originally be quarterback running back, but Yahoo wouldn't let us do it. So we made it a super flex. And I actually am putting a wide receiver there. I'm curious how many, we'll see over the course of going through this, who's got who slotted there. If most of them are quarterbacks and running backs, or if there's a bunch of wide receivers thrown in there too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Not a lot of teams have the depth to do that consistently. I don't think
the fifth running or wide receiver
to put a fifth receiver in there. I don't think many teams have the depth to do that.
I just think my running back depth is terrible.
Yeah, not a lot of depth there in the running back position for you. But again, you more than make up for that with your receivers. So.
I had to choose between Chris Hogan and Jay Cutler.
But I think Chris Hogan's a great play now to have there. So it's going to be interesting. I think you have a really great matchup there. It's right down the middle. I could go either way with this, but I think I'm going to give the edge to you. I'm going to pick Danny to win this.
And I'm going to give the edge to Josh because of this guy right here. He's playing the Niners.
He's going to throw 3 pick sixes in the first play of the game.
Yeah, but the comeback is going to be epic. That's only minus 6 points.
All right, that's true. Still have time for that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah.
Good matchup.
Speaking of which, that's actually kind of funny, is you're wearing a Niners shirt, I'm wearing a Panthers shirt, and we're talking about week 1 matchups.
And all 3 of us are going to be at that game.
Yeah. Me, you. It's funny. Like, I don't have to worry about which way I'm pointing because I'm actually pointing at you.
That's true. You are pointing at me. Good
and
job.
that guy up there, Taserface.
Taserface.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Great movie. See it in theaters.
I'm
last
Mary
month.
Poppins, y'all.
All right. On to game number 2, which is your game.
This is the one people care about. Now I can finally talk about the trade.
No, we're not talking...
The trade...
You know what? We got time. We've got time.
Thank you, because the trade was actually key to this matchup. Because I'm starting one of her former players against her now.
I actually didn't realize that you traded who you were playing in week 1.
I didn't either until we came up with this, actually. Until the slide came up in pre-show. So yes, I went. For those of you who didn't see the trade, I sent Kenny Britt and Theo Riddick, along with a 5th round draft pick next year, to Ashley for Joe Mixon and her 8th round draft pick next year.
Okay, so you got a worse draft pick and a better running back. Well, actually, a subjectively better running back. A starting running back compared to a passing down running back.
I mean, that's subjective too at this point, because Joe Mixon at this point is still kind of in a 3-headed backfield with Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard. However, when you look at the tape and when you watch them on the field, I think Mixon, it shows. He jumps off the tape that he's clearly far and away better than both Hill and Gio Bernard. So while it might take a couple weeks for him really to get going, I liked the talent too much. I think he's going to end up being a key player this year. And while the 2 players I gave up, I'm okay with. I like both Theo Riddick and Kenny Britt.
Yeah.
They're good, solid depth players. But if Mixon performs the way that I think he's going to, that's a trade that I wouldn't be able to pull off here in the next couple of weeks.
So I have to admit to something.
Yeah?
I was over the last week that this trade happened. I thought you were talking about Dalvin Cook because I was like, oh yeah, the Vikings running back.
Oh.
I thought that's who you were talking to. Now I know you got the Bengals wide receiver. Okay, I definitely.
He's a running back.
Yeah, I know. I think I like the trade for Ashley, not necessarily because of who she gave up is worse, but because she will benefit next year.
Yeah.
Having that 5th round pick and not necessarily losing talent that she needs for this year, I think Ashley might have won the trade.
I think it was a good trade for both sides. For me, it's definitely more so going for the short term, trying to win now.
You're taking the shot on Mixon, and she's taking the safety of still getting good things in return and helping next year.
Right, and she didn't have Mixon in her starting lineup the first week anyway, so basically, if you look at it on her end, she was trading a bench player for 2 bench players and a better draft spot. So,
yeah.
Good move for her, but I do think I got the best player in the trade, like, by far. You might not see that right now with Joe Mixon, but I think by the end of the year, this is something that we're going to look back on. That was a pretty big move for me. And after the trade, I had a little bit of regret that I might have given up a little too much as far as the draft picks go.
Yeah.
I think I probably could have gotten away giving up a 6th or getting back a 7th or something like that. But it's something when I looked at it, Joe Mixon was a guy that I actually wanted to draft in this league, and he ended up going a little bit sooner than I expected.
Too early, yeah.
So when I put it together, again, like Joe Mixon's just jumping off the tape in preseason, and I wanted to make sure that I got the trade down.
As somebody who has made a trade in this league this year, trust me, I understand completely about the crap. Did I go too far too soon?
Yeah.
Because what the trade I made with Ralph is the trade that I proposed to him. But right away, he sounded like he was very positive about it, like he wanted to do it. I'm like, dang it, should I have offered Cam Newton or somebody else instead of Martavis Bryant, and then maybe traded Martavis to somebody else?
It's the tricky part about making trades, because ideally, you make a trade, you want the person to accept it, but when they accept it too quickly, you're like, wait a second.
What did I do?
Could I have given up less for that? But, ideally...
Mind games, maybe, too.
Right. But ideally, that's what you want. If you really want a player, you have to go out and get them and make sure that you get them.
And I really wanted Julio or Le'Veon.
And I really wanted Joe Mixon. And those draft picks, the trading of draft picks, I think we're going to see a lot more trades this year.
I do, too. In fact, do you want to trade draft picks right now?
Sure. I will give you my new 8th round pick, my shiny new additional 8th round pick, for your 1st round pick.
How about my first 8th round pick?
Deal.
We will forget about this by next week. But anyways.
And actually, I don't want to, we got to get into the matchups here eventually, but should we talk about the difference in the trade procedures this year?
Oh, actually, that is a great idea. That was something we talked about pre-show, and we figured this would be a good time to put it in. And you remembered.
That's what your mama
Nope,
said.
give it time. All right.
I always remember to put it in.
But button's a little slow today.
Anyway, so as people saw, we didn't have the traditional 2-day waiting period on trades. That's something that I've kind of been against for a while in fantasy football, and the reason for that is there's a few reasons actually to try to get into all of them. The first thing is I feel that if two owners agree on a trade that both of them are trying to make their teams better, whether that's this year or next year, if they agree to it, then that trade should go through. It shouldn't be up to the rest of the league to have an opportunity to veto a trade just because they don't like it or it makes a team better than their team is.
Because I wanted to point out during this discussion that we have had one vetoed trade in this league, and it was actually a trade I made to you in a year where I somehow didn't draft any wide receivers. So after week 1, in which I hate rookies, I tried trading you Giovanni Bernard for Doug. It's funny how nowadays
You can't say that.
I have to, otherwise they wouldn't know who I was trading.
All right, fair enough.
And it's funny that nowadays I would get vetoed for the same thing, but the other way around.
That's right, because at the time people were like, "No, you're giving up Giovanni Bernard for some scrub wide receiver on the Seahawks? We can't let that happen." But as retrospect shows, you would have killed me in that trade
No,
at the time, or
no. Gio had a good year, and Doug
right at the time
didn't break out yet.
But as history looks back on it, then obviously one is clearly a better player than the other. But that's the thing. So if two teams agree on a trade, I think it should be allowed to go through, unless it's clear collusion. So, for example, I don't know, if Barron starts off 0-6, not saying he's going to, just using that as an example. If Barron starts off at 0-6 and decides to give you Le'Veon Bell for your 16th round pick next year, and then you guys split the pot,
I'm okay with it.
that trade's getting vetoed, because that's a clear sign of collusion. However, if Barron decides he wants to trade Le'Veon Bell to you for next year's 2nd round pick or 4th round pick or something like that, then that'll be allowed to go through. It's
even
something.
4th round pick seems kind of too late.
It does,
but it also
however,
doesn't.
if no one else is offering a 3rd round pick, Barron should be allowed to make that trade. If that's the best offer that he has, he should be allowed to do that. So that's how I look
here's
at
the next thing is obviously you guys are all part of the league. We all want your participation, not necessarily in the commissioner type aspect, but give us your feedback. If you see a trade where you're like, he's trading him so and so for so and so, that doesn't seem right. Bring it up to us.
Absolutely.
And we'll have a discussion. If we have to have a discussion on our group thread, then so be it. If we just have to have a behind closed doors discussion with the two parties involved, we'll do that as well.
Absolutely. And the thing about all trades, once they're accepted by both owners, it'll come to the commissioners to either accept or decline the trade. Most of the time, I'm going to accept any trade that you guys make to go through. If people have an issue with it, we can always go back and take care of the trade and undo it later on if we need to. I don't see that happening, but it's something that we could do. Whereas by giving it that 2-day waiting period, you also end up with players going on waivers for 2 days, and then any players that were dropped because of that trade go on waivers for an additional 2 days. And then if they play any games in the meantime, then that's more time.
So when a trade happens, the player that gets dropped won't be on waivers at all?
They will still they'll still hit waivers.
Instantly.
They'll hit waivers immediately.
It's as if they were dropped at the exact moment.
Exactly.
Okay.
All it's really doing is getting rid of that 2-day waiting period so that people are free to go ahead and make whatever roster moves they need to make after that trade.
Okay.
So it's just going to be faster for everybody, and that way we know what's happening. You don't have to spend a week negotiating a trade with someone, finally get them to agree on it, and then wait 2 days wondering if the league's going to let it go through or not.
Now, I have another question for you, because I've seen this happen in another league once, is trading players on the understanding of trading them back. So it's like, hey, I don't have a quarterback for this week. I don't want to drop somebody. Can you trade me a quarterback? I'll trade you this player, and then afterwards we trade him back. Is that collusion, or is that strategy?
Excuse me. I mean, I feel that's kind of strategy because I don't know why people would want to do that trade. I don't know why I would want to help you win unless you gave me something back. That
exactly.
me.
It'd be like, hey, you can borrow Julio Jones for a week if you let me borrow your backup quarterback, so I don't have to drop Julio Jones to pick up a quarterback.
Yeah.
It's a way of kind of dropping someone without actually
No,
dropping them.
So that is strategy, because collusion is where one person does something to help someone else without any benefit to themselves as far as making their team better. If you can find someone to agree to something like that, then you're doing it to make your team better that week and then undoing it the following week. Again, I don't really see that happening. I could be wrong. It could become a weekly thing in this league. Who knows? But I just don't see the benefit of it unless you're doing it to make your team better, in which case I'll do whatever you want to make your team better.
All right.
That's this year or next
I think we've had Tommy's... wait, let me get that. We've had that up here long enough. It's going to
Well,
game...
we really didn't talk about the matchup at all either.
You're gonna win.
Oh, okay.
All right, fine. So, anyways, you have a lot of good players. She has a lot of good players as well, but I think you have more.
I agree.
You kind of have that David Johnson guy.
David Johnson's good. Rob Gronkowski, that's probably the only matchup this year that Ashley will face where she has Jordan Reed on the field and is at a disadvantage at tight end. So,
yeah, but even still, what's... we can't click the weather report. But there's a little cloud next to Rob Gronkowski. There's going to be some weather.
but we're both starting 2 tight ends. That's interesting.
Oh.
And 2 good ones also. So, it'll be a good matchup, but yeah, I think all in all.
There we go. She's got a wide receiver in the super flex, and you've got a quarterback.
Indeed. So that'll be interesting. I'm projected 1 more point because of that. But yeah, the difference quarterback scoring is going to be interesting this year too, because it's full point scoring, and you need 40 yards to get a passing point.
Yep.
So
Quarterbacks are going to be weird. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I sense a lot of.
I think quarterbacks are going to be consistent, but it's like there'll be some duds in there too. It'll limit the ceiling a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, anyways, just my 2 cents. I think that her quarterback beats your quarterback, but you've got 2 of them, and quarterbacks can kind of be like a top running back. So I just think you've got the edge.
I think so too. When you look at the whole matchup, or
Except
the
for
whole
Mixon.
lineup,
Mixon's going to get 4 points.
that's probably true. But I think he'll still do about what Darren Sproles does. But anyway, I think we agree there. Ashley does have 2 Packers receivers. That's worked well for her in the past. See how it goes this week against the Seahawks.
Yeah. All right. Now on to game number 3, which is James versus Barron.
Yep. And so I'm looking at the lineups, and it pains me to say this, but I think James had a really good draft. I think James has a really good team. I think he has the best receiver depth in the league. Maybe not at the top end as you do, but throughout his entire lineup, he has players on his bench that he can slot in there too. I like his starting running backs, but I do not like his running back depth, really. He has Tevin Coleman, which is solid, especially if anything happens to Freeman.
Oh, yeah.
But then it's Thomas Rawls, and if anything happens to those starting running backs, then he's going to have some trouble there. He also does not have a second quarterback. Drew Brees is the only quarterback on his team.
All right, so James, if you want Jay Cutler for a week, I would be more than happy to take Odell Beckham for a week.
Collusion!
God damn it.
And then we go over and we look at Barron's lineup, where I really like his wide receivers and running backs, his starters anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has 3 solid starting wide receivers. I haven't been shy about my love for Pierre Garçon this year, especially in PPR. So I think that's going to be good. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell is Le'Veon Bell, and Christian McCaffrey's going to catch a ton of passes. He'll probably get injured in the first quarter of Week 1, but besides that, he's going to have a great year. And while he's injured.
No, he's going to get a phone call, and his mom's going to be distressed that he moved out finally, and he's going to have to console her over the phone for an hour and a half.
Indeed. So, so really, like, despite liking James's draft a lot more than I liked Barron's, Barron still did fine. I almost like Barron's matchup this week better.
Yeah, because, well, here's what I look at. I look at this and I say Odell Beckham might not even play Week 1. Mm-hmm. Alshon Jeffrey is in a new offense. Emmanuel Sanders has Trevor Siemian throwing to him. DeMarco Murray's good. Ty Montgomery will do good. Hunter Henry, they still got that guy called Antonio Gates. He hasn't broke the record yet.
Hunter Henry's still the second tight end on his own team, technically. So
Deshaun Jackson, he's on a new team. Who knows how that's going to work out. It's just there's a lot of high upside on James's team, but they all have to hit in the same week.
Right. Now one thing I will say is
He's got a great defense, though.
Indeed. I mean, they're going to do awful week 1, but Kansas City's got a tough matchup there too.
Yeah.
And New England and San Francisco. I mean, apples to oranges. What the better? I mean, apples to apples. I mean, what's the tougher matchup? I don't know. Kyle Shanahan led 49ers or the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady led Patriots.
I have
It's a
my
toss-up.
ideas. You have your ideas. We'll just call it that.
I will say I don't love Austin Hooper and Josh Doxson in the starting lineup week 1. I like Austin Hooper a lot, but I don't know how confident I feel week 1. I'll
Yeah.
kind of give that the push with Hunter Henry, where I think I'd almost give the edge to Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
And I think I'd give the edge to Deshaun Jackson over Josh Doxson as well.
Yeah.
But he does have Phillip Rivers. He has that starting quarterback in the flex spot to a wide receiver. So
Yep.
that's another thing.
Has
to
there
keep an
been
eye on.
anything other than a wide receiver or a quarterback yet?
We have yet to see a running back in the flex spot.
Or a tight end, but I don't think we'll see a tight end in the super flex.
I don't either. That you have to start 3 tight ends. I don't see that happening. So this is a good matchup. I like it a lot. I kind of want to go with the upset pick with Barron. I look at James's team and I think it's better, but then I realize that I like Barron a lot more than I like James. So I'm going to pick the upset. I'm going to go with Barron.
See, I have to go with Barron under the assumption that he's not going to be starting Odell Beckham Jr. I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be playing, and
don't
if
think
he
so?
does, he's not going to be at full speed. I think he's going to lose about 10 points there.
Plus Le'Veon Bell
Projection.
against Cleveland, that's a 50-point game. So, yeah, I'm going to pick the upset. I'm going to go with Barron.
All right, we're on a consensus pick here again. Consensus pick. All right, on to game number 4, which here's a couple of guys you love, Tommy. These
Two
are
of my
some of your 2
favorite-
best friends.
2 of my favorite guys in the league. So I look at Jeff's lineup, and for a defending champion, I do not like his draft too much. Now here's what I'll say about that. I think his 3 starting receivers are great. I think that's an awesome lineup to have with Michael Thomas, Des Bryant, and Keenan Allen. I think he stole Leonard Fournette in the draft too. I think that's a great running back 1 to have. Outside of those 4 players, I don't see anything that I'm excited about.
I like Moncrief.
You like Moncrief with no Andrew Luck?
Eventually,
in week
he'll
4?
get Andrew Luck. I'm just saying, I like that pick.
I don't like having to start Cameron Brate at tight end.
I don't like Darren McFadden long term.
Who even knows if Darren McFadden's going to play week 1,
Yeah.
depending on the Zeke suspension, how that works out. So that's the thing. Like Jeff has great wide receivers, and I love Leonard Fournette, but I don't know that he has the depth outside of that to really compete. However, when I look across the board, I see AJ Green and a lot of guys wouldn't really feel excited about having. I mean, Jarvis Landry has been a PPR staple. We'll see how he does
Cutler.
with Cutler throwing the ball. Jay Cuddy likes to push the ball down the field a little bit more, so we'll see how that affects Landry's short routes and as a slot receiver. Brandon Marshall in New York, he's getting up there in age. I don't love that pick.
It could be good in week 1 if Odell doesn't go full.
It could be. That's true. That's a good point. I don't love Marshawn Lynch. I mean, he could be fine. But I don't want him on any of my
Lamar Miller
teams.
burned me last year.
Yeah, same here. So you got Deontay Foreman back there in the backfield too. So there's just a lot of usage questions right there. Kyle Rudolph should be a good play against New Orleans. Eric Decker and Martellus Bennett so it's funny. I look at the matchups and it's I give Jeff the advantage at wide receiver and running back 1, and I think I give Allen the advantage everywhere else.
Yeah, it kind of looks that way. I like Eric Decker. I don't know how he's going to do just to start because he's on his new team.
I like Eric Decker a lot week 1 actually.
Yeah.
Before Corey Davis starts cutting it. Actually, I could see Decker having a solid year all the way through.
Okay.
Martellus Bennett, that could be a big play in Green Bay. Who knows how that'll go? So, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of question marks. I think this will be a pretty even matchup, but yeah, I mean, this is a tough one for me to call, to be honest.
Let's just say Yahoo was right, and these are definitely 2 of the worst 3 teams in the league.
All right, I'll agree with that. Good job, Yahoo.
Yeah.
Tie.
Oh shoot, I don't have the tie set up.
All right, then I'll pick Jeff.
Wait, I could put it in post production.
That's what your mama said.
That's fair.
All right, so I pick Jeff.
You pick Jeff?
Yes.
I will pick. Damn it, I wanted to pick Jeff. I'll pick Allen just so that we can have a whatever word I used earlier.
Well, yeah, it was a good word.
Contention pick.
Contention.
Contended pick.
All right.
All right. On to game number 5. That's right, our rivalry week one preview. That's right. This is a matchup that's 11 weeks in the making.
I want to start off by giving Ralph props for his image. Nice job with the sausage party reference there. Well done. I approve. One for. How would you like your team to be pronounced? Also, we're going to be needing that. Do you pronounce? Are you going with Patrick's pronunciation or with the intended pun statement?
I said one for my homies.
Right. So that's kind of what I would think there too. One for my homies, or is it one for Mahomes, which is how he pronounces his name? I don't know. We're asking you, Ralph. Until then, we're going to go with one for Mahomes.
What does turn your head in Goff mean?
That means that that Cody had to turn his head when he drafted Jared Goff.
I remember him going.
He did. Now,
he may have even said a wide receiver's name.
Now, I would actually like to point out that Cody's quarterbacks are Andrew Luck, who's not playing Week 1, Tyrod Taylor, who is in concussion protocol right now, and there's a chance Tyrod Taylor could miss Week 1, which would leave Cody's starting quarterback as the one and only Jared Goff. There's a scenario where that could happen.
That's pretty
In
funny.
which case, you just gift drafted the game and handed it to Ralph, as Jared Goff will be doing many times this season.
Yeah.
But let's assume, for the sake of the breakdown, that Tyrod Taylor is going to play.
Although, I also want to go back to the last one and say there was a wide receiver and a quarterback in the 2 spots, I believe.
This breakdown will be continued after these
We've
messages.
got a quarterback and a tight end / wide receiver because the tight end should be there. Anyways.
Okay.
So, and we've got 2 wide receivers here as well. So far, the Superflex is AKA wide receiver spot 5.
That's kind of looking that way so far on a lot of teams. Which, I mean, more power to you if you have the depth to do that. I mean, we don't know. I don't know how John Brown's going to do Week 1. If he's going to
CFOD
play.
stands for clusterfuck of doom.
It's supposed to be a clusterfuck.
Every year we cluster this fucker up.
All right, so let's get into this. Quarterback matchup, obviously, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or Jared Goff, Ralph has the advantage with Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback?
Yes, he is.
Who's he going to throw
He's
to?
much better than Jared Goff.
Doug.
He's going to throw. You can't say that.
I've said it like 6 times.
He's going to throw it to all of Ashley's receivers.
Oh.
And so when we go into the wide receiver
That's
matchup
gonna be a fun
here,
matchup then.
it will be a fun matchup. But I'm going to give...
Clusterfucker versus new clusterfucker.
And possibly future clusterfucker, who knows? But I'm going to give Cody the edge at wide receiver here. Mike Evans and Terrell Pryor were both of his keepers, and then Demaryius Thomas, who was his first actual pick in the draft. So that was a great way to start. He's also got Adam Thielen down there in the flex, who I really like. Adam Thielen.
Yeah, he's one of those things where it's like it can't keep happening. It keeps happening. Okay, maybe it's real.
Adam Thielen's a guy I actually would have drafted a round or 2 before Cody took him, had I not already had Stephon Diggs. So
Yeah.
So Cody got a steal there, in my opinion. So I'm going to give the wide receiver advantage to Cody. I'm also going to give the running back advantage to Cody. I like Bilal Powell as much as anyone could like a Jet. And Amir Abdullah...
The only Jet?
The only Jet who's on any fantasy teams this year, I think. And then Amir Abdullah, who I like a lot as a breakout candidate, but I don't love the Week 1 matchup against Arizona, especially, sharing time with Zach Zenner and Theo Riddick. So I'd much rather have Carlos Hyde and C.J. Anderson in those matchups. And then we get to the flex. It's a little bit closer, but I'm leading with Cody there too. I like all 3 of those players.
I like Coleman as out of all those 4 right there. Technically, I like Coleman.
Which 4?
Which is Macklin, Thielen, Brown. Is that John Brown or Jerron Brown? Either way,
I think it's John. But
don't
let me
look it up. It doesn't matter.
All right, it's one of the J Browns.
Yes. I think I like Corey Coleman the most there, just because they're going to be behind and throwing the ball.
I like Corey Coleman a lot as a breakout candidate this year, but I still have him behind. If John Brown is healthy, I put him ahead. If it's Jerron, not so much. But Adam Thielen's my favorite player out of all of those guys.
So here's what we're going to revisit next week. Which of these 4 players has scored the most points? I'm going to say Corey Coleman.
I'm going to say Adam Thielen.
All right.
And I'm hooked on a Thielen.
Hooked on a Thielen.
And
I'm
going to
going
give the match.
camping.
You're going camping?
With my Coleman gear. It's the best I could do.
Not a bad pun off the top of your head. But I'm picking Cody to win this one, pending Tyrod Taylor playing. If Jared Goff plays, obviously he's going to lose.
All right, now I've got a question for you. If Tyrod Taylor doesn't play, should Cody try and drop somebody to draft or to pick up Josh McCown? Or should he start Jared Goff?
Josh McCown or Jared Goff. The Rams are playing the Colts week 1, so I'm actually going to go Jared Goff.
Well, the Jets are playing the Bills, and the Bills...
The Bills are okay on defense.
Okay.
I would take Jared Goff over against the Colts, which no one could feel good about that, but I'll take it over Josh McCown. So
All right.
I'm picking Cody. Who are you picking?
I'm going to pick Ralph,
Okay.
even though
Contention.
the smarter pick is Cody.
I mean, the match...
But it's because I picked Coleman that I have to go with Ralph.
I see.
Plus, I traded Ralph, and I'm rooting for him until we play each
The
other.
projections are even, so you can really go either way on this one.
Yeah.
All right.
We all know Yahoo's really good at projecting things.
That's right. They're the best
All
in the
right,
game.
now, as for our 2 new viewers who don't normally watch, normally when we get to game number 6, we call that the CFOD, Big Game of the Week.
Big game of the week.
But it's week 1. We didn't really feel like going into the production aspect of it. We've already been recording for over an hour. I mean, as I told you, it's going to be a long episode. So it's just regular game 6. It's not Big Game of the Week. Don't get too excited. It's just game number 6
We'll have the big games next
between
week.
Justin and Randall.
Swedish Butt Pussy takes on Blunts and Fortes, a team named
That's
after...
what your mama said.
You said takes on.
All right, fair enough. A team named after 2 players who no one wants on their fantasy teams. You should probably update that, Randall. The 2 running backs you have are much better than
At
Garrett
least-
Blount
at
and
least
Matt
this
Forte.
year.
So that's what I'm going to look at the lineups here. There's things I like and things that I don't like about each lineup.
Yeah.
I will say that I really like Randall starting running backs. Let me start there. LaShawn McCoy is obviously LaShawn McCoy. They don't have any other running backs on their team, so LaShawn McCoy is getting 40 carries in week 1 and probably going to catch 10 passes.
All right.
Kareem Hunt, I love me some Kareem Hunt. I haven't been shy about that. I have him in every other league that I'm in other than this one, actually.
K Hunt.
K Hunt. I will say Randall's wide receivers are a little lackluster. I like Zay Jones, but not as a wide receiver 3. I would like Zay Jones as a 4th or 5th wide receiver, like a guy that I would consider playing at flex. I think Randall needs another wide receiver there because I don't love Torrey Smith either. Like ideally, I would have Zay Jones playing the flex, and I'd have another wide receiver up there where Zay Jones is.
See, here's the problem with Randall's draft. 2 times he reached just because a guy shared his last name. I mean, Tyreek Hill maybe wasn't the biggest of reach, but he reached later to get Jeremy Hill when...
I don't know that he really reached for Jeremy Hill where he was going.
I was planning on getting Jeremy Hill a round or 2 later. And
let's see. Let me look at my records here. Jeremy Hill went in round 12. The running backs who went after him... I'm okay with that pick because as of the draft, Jeremy Hill was still technically the starter out there. So
he did get hurt that day too.
Yeah, but I think he's going to be fine. I think the fear for me there isn't the injury; it's Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon's going to have that job pretty well handled in the next few weeks. But again, you have LaShawn McCoy and Kareem Hunt. You're not planning on starting Jeremy Hill much anyway. Yeah. And on the other end, you have Todd Gurley. I actually do like Todd Gurley this year, especially a Week 1 matchup against Indy. I'm not loving Adrian Peterson in the starting lineup.
But here's the kicker, though.
No, the kickers are McManus and Vinatieri.
Justin is starting 3 running backs. That's never before happened in the CFOD history.
In the history of CFOD, we've never seen a flex at the
a flex at the running back position.
A running back flex.
We have seen a flex in Cameron Meredith-Snee, though.
Indeed we have. So I'll give the quarterback matchup to Justin.
Yeah.
With Tom Brady over Russell Wilson. The receivers are pretty even, in my opinion.
I'm going to give it to Justin.
I'm going to give the edge to Justin as well. It also depends on if Jordan Matthews plays Week 1.
Is Jordan Matthews available? Different league, sorry.
And I'll put Kevin White right there with Torrey Smith, a guy who I don't love having to start Week 1. Clear tight end advantage for Justin, in my opinion. Jimmy Graham over Jack Doyle. So again, like there are things I like about both teams, things I don't like about both teams. This is a tough one for me to call. What do you think?
I am easily going Justin in this one.
You're easily going Justin?
Easily going Justin. Granted, I'm rooting for Randall.
Interesting. All right, if you're going to go Justin, I'm going to make it interesting. I'm going to go Randall.
All right.
I like the quarterback flex. I like Ben Roethlisberger as a flex there against Cleveland.
Against Cleveland, yeah.
I think that's big. But Dalvin Cook against New Orleans is a great matchup, too. So that's a little bit of a push, but I'm going to put the running backs in the flex for Randall as the difference maker here.
All righty. So that gives us our first 3 games. We're all consensus picks.
Both guys had great defenses also, I'll point out. It's Denver versus Houston.
Oh, yeah.
So there are going to be some defensive points
both
there
have,
also.
and then the Denver kicker and the Indy kicker.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we have some really good matchups week
I'm going
one.
to go back to game 1. Yeah, that's a quarterback and a wide receiver. We got a quarterback and a wide receiver. We've got a wide receiver and a quarterback. And then we've got a quarterback and a wide receiver, even though it says tight end. I'm flipping them. A wide receiver and a wide receiver. And then a running back and a quarterback.
So, I mean, it worked. We got a running back in there. But,
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I think I'd have Dalvin Cook in the running back spot. And I don't know who else Justin has on his team, but I'd be considering someone else over Adrian Peterson week 1. Obviously, Adrian Peterson is a Hall of Famer. He's in an offense where he should have some opportunities, but Mark Ingram's still there. There's still only one ball and a ton of options. I want to wait a week or two to see what Adrian Peterson does before I feel comfortable putting him in my starting lineup.
Indeed. But anyways, I believe that is everything we have for this episode.
I think it is.
We're melting because while we're recording, we have to turn off the AC and the fans and stuff because otherwise it just sounds terrible. And this guy gets really, really sweaty, and it stinks over here. So I'm going to end the episode.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I'm going to end the episode the same way we always do. So everybody out there, enjoy week 1 of fantasy football. Next week we will be coming to you live from Levi Stadium with special guest Josh Gillespie. And until then,
We might still be friends afterwards also.
yeah, I still like my dad, and I watched his team beat my team.
Okay, that's fair. But I'm just saying, if my team loses, then I'm probably going to kick the shit out of you.
I'm gonna have to walk home.
All right. But I love you.
So on
For
my
now.
way on my way back from San Francisco to Reno, when I'll have to walk, go CFOD yourselves.
Go CFOD yourselves.
I'm gonna come forward now.
Oh.
That's what your mama said.
Buttons don't work.